morning.
Hey, good morning. How are you?
Good, good. And how was your Thanksgiving? Oh, did you have your Thanksgiving dinner
No, we're
yesterday?
having it today. I'm gonna be after the show there. I'm gonna start on the turkey and everything, and yeah, we're doing it today.
Yeah,
Matteo was home for from university, so it's kind of gonna be a nice Thanksgiving.
yeah, we just had my mom over, me and Sheldon and my mom, and it was nice, but I don't know, there's something about that smell of turkey. I don't know. It's so comforting. It's such a nice smell in the house.
Yeah,
So,
it's the smell of harvest, like
yeah,
all
there's
the
just
veggies and the turkey and all that jazz.
to
Yeah.
me to me it just means Christmas is around the corner.
Oh, there you go.
Yeah.
Hey, I gotta pat myself on the back. I am so proud of myself. You saw all the mess that was behind me last week when I showed you that I bought
Yes.
these office partitions and everything. Well, yesterday I got up and I said, "Okay, there is no way." Like I dismantled my main desk, so I had no choice.
Mhm.
I had to, I had to do something because I
Yeah.
wouldn't have a desk to do this morning. So,
Yeah.
so I got to it and oh my gosh, I got it all together
All
and
of it?
all of it. My boys helped me a little bit, and yeah, I'm like, well, all of it. Okay, I still have little bits and pieces to do here and there, but yeah. So I did it. I did it all by myself.
Good,
And
good. Yeah,
I have a
yeah,
nice little cubicule. I don't know how you
cubicle,
cubicle right next to me
workspace.
here, workspace that you can go and work on. Anyways, I don't want to take too much time chatting this morning. We have a big show. We have
We
lots of
do.
people on, and it's a very important show. So we invite you. We have some people running for council today. We have right now backstage sitting is Ryan Martelle, Maurice Dupelle, Elaine MacDonald, Sarah Good, and Stephen Robinson.
That
So I
was it.
backstage. So prepare your questions. If you have anything to ask, we'll ask them for you. But for now, we'll bring them on one by one. Hold on here. Here we go. Hi, guys.
Hello.
Good morning.
Morning.
How are you doing?
Good, good. Full of turkey.
Thanksgiving. Yeah. Happy Thanksgiving to all of you. So, to begin with, we're going to do a bit like we did last week with some of the other counselors or some of the other people running for counselors. And we're going to start with ladies, and we're going to ask you to introduce yourself and tell us who you are and why you are running. So, Sarah, we'll start with you.
Sure. Hi. Thank you for having us today. I'm in a bit of an echoey room. I hope I sound okay.
You do.
Okay, so far, so good.
Good, good. So a bit about myself. I have been working in the nonprofit sector for about the last 7 years or so in administration. I'm currently in human resources at the Children's Aid Society. I volunteer also on the board of directors for Habitat for Humanity. I have 2 kids, one of my own, and I also have a stepdaughter. They're both young. One is a toddler and totally unruly, and the other one is at such a nice age of 7 years old, which is just the beginning of independence, and it's so cool to watch. So, yeah, longtime Cornwallite, and I am eagerly running for council and hoping I can bring some positive change to our community.
Perfect. Thank you. Elaine, your turn.
Well, thank you. I'd like to start by wishing everybody a happy Thanksgiving. And I don't know if any of you have had the experience of having multiple invitations to dinners. But in any case, may every turkey dinner you're invited to be a good one. So I'm a 4-term counselor to date and former teacher. I'm involved in many things in the community. Some of them have great effect at the municipal level, but some are I guess above that level, like the Health Coalition, for example, that I'm very involved in. And I feel that I think the most important thing about us as counselors, especially with the challenges we've had, I mean, take the long view. If you look at the last 20 years or so, our biggest challenges have been turning our economy around. In fact, reinventing ourselves as an economic force, because we pretty well lost everything by the early aughts of this century. So, and I think Cornwall has done a great job of that. And we've diversified our economy, which is probably the most important thing we've done. And that's not a done deal. That's an ongoing thing. And I feel that the greatest contribution all the councils I've been involved in so far have been maintaining this upward trajectory, because it's not easy to do a comeback when you have a meltdown, an economic meltdown, such as we had with all our industries leaving. But we've done that, and I'm running to keep that momentum going.
Awesome. Thank you.
Wow.
All right, I'm going to go on with Ryan.
Okay. Yeah. Hi, guys. Happy Thanksgiving. Yeah. Hope everybody
Nice
did.
beard, by the way.
Thank you. I try really hard. Well, I resist the urge to cut it. That's the hardest thing. I had 13 people over yesterday for Thanksgiving. I cooked a really awesome dinner. It was good. My kids were down, so pretty happy and thankful. And I don't know. Look, I'm running for council simply because I'd like to see some positive change. I mean, nothing against current council. There's been lots of positive things, and we're definitely heading in the right direction. But we definitely could, interject some new blood there and see if, just a different voice at the council table would be, I don't know, now's the time. And my personal life, my kids are grown. I feel like I have the time now to do it. It's something I've always wanted. I've been very civic minded, but I don't have, the volunteering history of some of these people and such. I mean, I volunteer with Big Brothers. I do some stuff there, but yeah, just, I don't know, looking to do positive things.
Perfect. Thank you. Stephen.
Hi. Yes. 41-year-old father of 2 boys, stepfather to 3 girls, local HVAC salesman. I'm looking really to realize Cornwall's potential. Lack of real significant growth, whether it be through circumstance we've put ourselves in or just through economic issues we've had no control in. Cornwall hasn't really grown. More houses get built, more people leave town. I want to change Cornwall to be the town that people want to come to and not want to leave. And that's my main goal.
Awesome. Thank you so much. Okay, so we do have questions that are starting to come
Maurice.
in. Oh, Maurice,
Maurice.
sorry. I'm so sorry.
Maurice.
I'm so sorry. Thank you, Mai-liis, for bringing me on track there.
That's all right. Thank you both for having me this morning, and welcome to my fellow candidates, and happy Thanksgiving to everyone out there. My name is Maurice Dupelle, and I've been a city councillor for the past 12 consecutive years, representing you, the residents. I'd like to continue that representation for the next 4 years by asking for your support in the next election. People would know me very well from being the owner and operator of the Green Spot restaurant for many years here in Cornwall, which was a family-run business. For the last 12 years, I've been the HR manager for Community Living in Glengarry. I'm married to my wife, Karen Tyon. And together we have 3 children, our son Noah and our twin daughters, Paige and Hannah. I feel like, yes, change is good, and I'm sure we're going to see some change. And, bringing new blood to the table is a great thing to do. And I'm looking forward to working with some of new blood. As you know, council is made up of 10 people, and 10 people work together. And when you're positive and you work together, things certainly get done. So I welcome the opportunity to serve you for another 4 years.
Awesome.
Wow.
Thank you so much, Marissa. And I'm so sorry.
That's okay.
I'm multitasking, so I'm kind of like all over the place.
No
Okay,
problem.
so I'm going to ask every one of you to try to be brief with the answers to the questions, because there's a lot of you and there's going to be a lot of people wanting to ask stuff. So I'm going to start with a question from Kathleen Merpa. My question is, where does everyone stand on water meters? So I'm not sure. I'm going to proceed with the order. I have you on my screen. It might not be the same order you have, but I'm going to go with my display. So Ryan, I'm going to start with you.
Okay, we'll keep it short. So no, I don't support water meters. I mean, obviously they're a good means for potential conservation and monitoring usage, but no, in the current scenario, I don't support water meters.
Okay, Maurice.
I do not support water meters. I don't feel that we have a plan in place as to how we're going to pay for the water meters, except for going to the taxpayer's pocket. And I think there's a lot more discussion that needs to come out of this before we can actually proceed.
All right, Stephen. Thank you.
Again, I don't support water meters. I agree with the principle behind them in conserving our natural resources. I believe there's much more cost-effective ways of doing so, whether it be high-efficiency furnaces or heat pumps, low-flow toilets. There are other ways. I'm prefer to give the carrot and not the stick. We're punishing people by making them choose between their child's bath and the next water bill going up. They disproportionately punish larger families. And in a community that needs people in it to grow and sustain itself, taxing people for having more children is something I am steadfastly against.
Perfect. Thank you. Sarah.
I struggled with this one. I consider myself an environmentalist, and a lot of the people who I respect and have spoken to about this, who are also environmentalists, have spoken of the good of water meters, and I support water conservation. I was reading through the Water Conservation Master Plan, which obviously talks about the water meters. I'm sure, like all of you, I have been bombarded over the last couple of months with questions about the water meters. There does not seem to be any kind of significant level of public buy-in, which I think is something that we need to have for this. I support water conservation. I know we have a rebate right now for low-flow toilets. I know that in that water conservation plan, they talked about installing a co-digester at the wastewater station. I am absolutely for that. But I think that right now it's an investment that we don't have public backing behind, and I don't know that it's something that as a city we're going to see return on. So at this time, I feel like for those reasons, can't support it.
Okay, thank you. And now Elaine.
Hi. Well, I guess it's good that you've got somebody on the other side. I support water meters, and I do so. I mean, I am a conservationist, but not for conservation reasons, because as people have said, there are many things we're doing to conserve everything, water among them. But I support it for an economic reason. Currently, the ICI sector of the city, that's the industrial commercial sector, is not paying its fair share of the total water bill. The taxpayer is actually subsidizing them. So if we move to water meters, there's going to be a fairer system in place where people will pay actually for the water they use. And that will include our industries as well. The taxpayers won't be supporting them. And it will take a few years to get the system in sync. I know 10 years ago in my old house, we actually installed a water meter just to experiment. The city actually was offering it to us at that point to anybody who wanted to have a water meter installed, just to put it in and monitor your own water use. So it's an idea that's been coming into its own. Now, I agree, if people are not in favor of it, then we have to do a better job of selling it. But I think people value fairness as much as they value conservation. And from a fairness point of view, water meters are the way to go.
Thank you. Okay, the next question is kind of long. It comes from Seb Allaire. It's for the councillors. So Maurice and Elaine. DevCorp presented an extremely vague billion-dollar development plan. Who will be responsible when the company demands more money from the city? Will taxpayers have to pay for a billion-dollar company to build million-dollar rental suites? Would you still support these plans if they don't even pay their laborers livable wages and pay many of their employees cash avoiding taxes? So we'll just take this one part of the question. And it ties in with something I had a question about DevCorp as well, because it's fantastic that people come and invest a lot of money. But I have a question about how it impacts the east side of Cornwall. Is that going to displace people from the East End and as they build? Because we've seen signs for DevCorp popping left, right, and center. So question for you, councillors. So Elaine first, maybe?
Okay, well, I
Ladies
just want to say right now, DevCore has been here for a few years working in the city. They've bought and renovated a lot of places, including close to me, Brookdale Arms. And I haven't heard any negative reports at all, positives from the people who've lived there and who are living in much better apartments than they were when DevCore bought them. So as they've got a track record. So the second thing, the question had to do with them coming to the city for funds. This is a private enterprise. I mean, Nav Center never came to the city for funds, and Dev Center is not going to be coming either. I suppose the city could have bought it if we wanted to invest there, but we didn't. DevCore bought it, and they have a plan. They're going to make money there. And I doubt very much that they will need our help to do it. In fact, they'll be pumping money into the city coffers through their taxes. When it comes to wages, I guess that's the same question for any employer in town. What if somebody doesn't pay fairly? From the track record that DevCore has, I can only assume that they're paying fairly. Otherwise, we would have had letters to the editor. We would have had scandal reports. We would have had action at the Labor Council and things like that. So I think that's kind of a paper tagger that somebody's bringing up. The same thing would happen to them as to anybody else who chose to pay their people unfairly. And that is, you just don't succeed as a business if you're exploiting your workers. So I think I wish somebody hadn't even brought it, because the next thing you know, somebody will hear half of this report and think that they've already done something unfair. So no, I have no fears on that score.
Perfect. Thank you. Maurice?
Well, I'd like to echo some of my councillor colleague comments. So they have been popping up, and we have seen them doing some work in town, and it's been positive that I've seen. What they presented to us for the NAV Center was what most of the question. It's on a huge scale. It's over many phases. You can look through that report, and when it would be all said and done, it will certainly be a nice feature for us to have here in Cornwall. As far as funding, we don't normally, since I've been on council, fund any private enterprise, except for if they qualify for one of our grants that we have going, or one of the programs that we have through CPEC. But from a point of view of subsidizing a private business, I wouldn't be supporting it. And I know that council up until now have not done that, but it all goes through our CPEC and through our grants that are available. And as far as fair wages, I mean, that's an employer issue versus an employee, and I wouldn't weigh in on that because I have no clue as to what DevCore pays their employees.
Thank you, Maurice. Okay, next question. Do you think our main street, our downtown is healthy? And we have two, right? Do you think it is healthy and successful? And if not, what would you do to change that? So let's start about the downtown core, the Pitt Street downtown core, followed by the Le Village. So I'll start with Ryan.
I think it is successful. We're seeing many, many positive signs. I mean, obviously, look, things have come to light the last week where there's been delays with permits and certain businesses want to do some expansions and whatnot. But I mean, overall, it's been positive. We had a lot of positive events over the summer. I think closing it for traffic for some of the big events is good. The art walk, the night market was super successful. Obviously, we need to probably focus on the Renaissance area, the Le Village area, the East End. It's overlooked. I mean, I live in the East End, so I get it. I mean, we definitely need a better job there, but I mean, it's not a simple answer, but we're definitely headed in the right direction. You know, and then big developments, like you said, like DevCore, huge positive for the city. Just, we got to run the line. We're almost running the line of, gentrification for certain people are being pushed out of the city just because of pricing. And it's good that there's positive changes, but yeah, we still got to look at and consider everyone. But yeah, specifically the downtown areas are relatively positive and moving in the right direction.
Thank you. Maurice.
Yeah, well, I certainly think Pitt Street downtown, as you can see, another investor has come along there and has done a lot of renovations to the current buildings and bringing them back. I think that our downtown core businesses do an excellent job of working together and establishing partnerships that make the downtown core that much more inviting. I think that there's, and we still need to continue to support them moving forward for sure. When it comes to Le Village, it's always been a struggle. For the 12 years that I've been on council, there's a lot of property standards issues that don't get addressed as quickly as they should. My second term of council, we established a property standards advisory committee, and I was part of that. And I think that we need to go back. That committee has now dissolved, and I think we need to go back and look at bringing that back, but bringing it back to the fact that, you know, the landlords or the owners of buildings who are not upkeeping them or having property standards issues, that we need to enforce those people. We need to enforce the bylaw on those individuals and not do a blanket statement across the board, because there's lots of business owners and homeowners that keep their homes lovely. So, I mean, we shouldn't be penalizing everybody at the same time. But I think that Le Village, we definitely need to lend some more support there and figure ways to beautify that area.
Thank you. Stephen.
I believe that there are some success stories in the downtown core. However, I don't necessarily want to call the downtown core a success story in and of itself, whether it's these issues around permits and you know, being forced to go to court, to just the occupancy rate and the turnover rate, more accurately. There are far too many businesses that when you go to patronize them for the second or third time, they're not there anymore. The downtown core has a less than stellar track record when it comes to holding on to businesses. We need an in-depth study, talk to these people and find out why they're struggling, what we can do to help them. You know, we make it look really pretty where there's tons of flowers and new lampposts and everything else. I walk my dog down that street every day down Montreal Road. Looks great. And every other week I'll notice XYZ store isn't there anymore. So it can be successful. It has been successful. The system in general makes some winners, but unfortunately has some losers in it as well. And we need to lower that number of losers to keep more business.
Thank you. Sarah.
I'm a little bit biased because I live downtown proper, and I've lived here most of my life since I was in high school, and I've seen huge changes that have happened in the downtown core. And obviously we've had the construction happening at Pitt and Second. I say construction, there's the lack of construction, a construction zone right on the corner that has been a bit of an eyesore for like 15 years. And that is finally almost coming to fruition. If you look at Pitt Street between First and Second, I was so terrified 2 years ago when I saw Crush Lane closing and I saw Happy Popcorn moving, and I'm like, oh no, our downtown is just disintegrating. And what ended up happening was not that at all. Happy Popcorn upgraded their space. Spicy Pearl moved off of First Street onto Pitt Street into a bigger location. You know, we've got Tilly's on the corner. We've got, you know, Carrots and Dates that just opened. So to me, as someone who lives downtown and I'm down here all of the time, I see a lot of life and a lot of energy in the businesses that are there. And I think throughout the pandemic, we've seen that people are very loyal, and they've gone out of their way to shop local, even when it's been absolutely entirely inconvenient. Like you have to order online and then park outside and pick it up at the door. But people have been doing that because they want to see our local businesses thriving. We've got room for improvement for sure. And if you go up just one short block, there are a lot of empty storefronts, and I don't know if that's a matter of just, you know, repopulating that area. I think we need to have some serious renovations done. It's sad to hear that report. It was sad to read that CTV article about what's been going on with the permits, and Rothmar has been responsible for a lot of the renovations that have been happening downtown on Pitt Street and surrounding area. So it's really sad to see that that's been held back when it's visible, the improvements, and you can see people that are there enjoying downtown. In terms of Le Village, I do not know the answer of what will bring more success to that area, because as Stephen was saying, there has been, there are planter boxes. It looks beautiful. If you look on the corner of Marlborough and Montreal Road, we've got this lovely seating area with these beautiful pieces of art that, celebrate our history and the culture in Cornwall. And unfortunately, there are a lot of empty storefronts. One of the suggestions that I heard coming up since this campaign was something simple, like bringing what do you call it, the Santa Claus parade, rerouting it from 2nd Street onto Montreal Road, where people are, where businesses are, so that those businesses can profit from more traffic downtown and more pedestrian traffic. So I think we see that businesses do better when there's more pedestrian traffic. Whatever we can do to drive that into all of our areas and just kind of infiltrate new life and new business, I think will be helpful. I think we're doing well, but it's not a steady upward stream. We have to keep working to make sure that we're on an upward trajectory.
Perfect. Thank you. And Elaine.
And I'll try to be brief and not repeat because I think some pretty great things have been said here. But one thing I want to say to Maurice Dupelle, you said you were part of the property standards bylaw. If I recall, Maurice, you led it. You drove that through council. So you're shorting yourself on credit there that's justly due to you, because that was a wonderful initiative on the city's part. And if it's flagged, I trust you'll keep it going too. So everything about the downtown is so great, because so many small communities, like, small cities, 50,000 population range, have hollowed out downtowns. We don't. I'm thrilled. But Le Village is a whole different story. But I'll say something curious about the downtowns. I used to live downtown, and I'd often walk Pitt Street with my husband and often walk Montreal Road. And Pitt Street tends to shut down at 5 o'clock. Montreal Road is awake all evening long. Like, no matter how dark it is, you get people walking that street. And I think it's because there are a lot of people living in apartments over businesses down there. So there's a core vibrancy that we can't deny about Montreal Road. But on the other hand, there's also, I think, a plethora of absentee landlords. On the CPEG committee, and I'm sure property standards too, we almost, we beg people, absentee landlords, to take our grant opportunities and fix up the storefronts, make it rentable and that sort of thing. We don't get takers. It's almost as though there are some people who are quite happy. I mean, obviously don't live in Cornwall, but they've got investments down there. What they're waiting for, I don't know. But believe me, the city has all along been ready to invest the way that we've invested in the Pitt Street businesses. I don't know why there hasn't been the uptake. But, I met somebody once who was very critical of the city's performance in the East End. And I got pretty defensive because I know what the city's been trying to do. But you can't force somebody to do what they don't want to do with their property. So anyway, we took a walk. And, this person pointed out this property, that, and every one of them, I said, that's private property. Like, we can't just take it over and go in and raise that house and start something else there. Private property, private property. So we bump heads against that a lot down there that we don't in Pitt Street. May that change. And may the property standards work keep going. Thanks to you, Maurice Dupelle.
Thank you, Elaine. Okay, so on the next question, I'm just going to paraphrase because it's a long text. Deborah Van Galen asks, I would like to know each council members, each person running, I'm assuming, their thoughts on the cat crisis in Cornwall. She's heard that only one grant is being given out to the rescues, and wonders what would the city do, or what could the city do to fix this? So we'll go with Ryan.
I don't know enough about the background to know about the grant details, but clearly we do have obviously a huge feral cat problem. I mean, we're one of the largest in the country, especially for our size. I know it. I mean, I just recently took in some cats that are staying in my shed, feeding them and giving them a warm place to stay. So, I mean, walking the laneway here by my house. So, I mean, yeah, it's definitely an issue, but yeah, I'm not sure how to fix it. Obviously, I support anything that we can do. The spay and neuter program is a good thing, but is there not enough adoption of it? I mean, we're definitely trying, but yeah, it's a big, big problem. I don't have a clean answer on that.
Okay. Maurice?
Yeah, so definitely it is a huge problem. Council did work hard on putting together the new bylaw for the cat problem. It is an ongoing issue. We did give a small amount of funding towards the mobile spay and neuter program that came to town and did that through the OSPCA, but it's not enough. I mean, we need to look at ways to try and help and support. We have shelters, a couple of shelters here in town that are doing this all out of pocket. So they're just the other day I spoke to a lady who runs one of the shelters, and she was at the vet with 6 cats that they picked up or rescued, and it cost her $1,100.
Wow.
And they had the bill there to show from the vet. So I mean, I don't know if there's a way that we can promote these rescues through our website, through our communications officer, to help them raise more donations, perhaps. But the city, when we're looking at our outside funding agencies or funding grants, municipal grants, I think they need to be applying, the OSPCA needs to be applying to our outside grants and looking to see what city council can do at that point.
Thank you. Stephen.
Yes, so it's a problem that hits home personally for myself. My girlfriend's family runs the Calico Cat Rescue, and they are solely responsible for the saving of hundreds of cats' lives every year. They adopt them in the most unbelievable conditions, so close to death so many times, pay out of pocket to have them spayed and neutered. They apply or try to get funding, and most of the time they don't have the charitable status qualifications yet. So it falls on private partners. Personally, I bake a couple hundred cookies, and then they'll go and stand with other baked goods at the Cornwall Square and raise private donations. They are forced to drive these cats into Quebec to get them spayed and neutered there, because the local rates are double and triple what they are in Quebec through this one vet. They are out of pocket. Allison and her team at Calico, they are out of pocket 5 figures yearly, personally out of pocket, not to mention they get paid $0 for their efforts. There is a fund that Maurice mentioned a moment ago. They're basically looking to double that fund, and I believe it's around $10,000 now, and they're looking to get somewhere around the $20,000 mark, and that would be, spend $1 today to not spend $100 tomorrow. If we take care of the cats on the street today, get them spayed and neutered, they don't have 20 kittens in the next 2 years. We need to address it today before it becomes an even bigger problem.
Perfect. Thank you. Sarah.
I absolutely commend the work of organizations like Stephen was mentioning, Calico Cats, and I know Mary Jane Prue is one of the people running again on this platform, and I have to admit I've been largely ignorant to this issue. I mean, I think we can only focus on so many things. I'm certainly supportive of the city, making greater efforts. I think the spay neuter program is something that is definitely important. If we can reduce the population, and like Stephen said, if 1 or 2 cats are having 20, and that's happening, a few times a year, well, it's obviously an exponential growth. So the sooner we can get ahead of that and stop it, I think it seems to me, without looking at the dollars and cents of it, like a reasonable investment to put money into that kind of prevention element of keeping cats off of the street. Do I know the answer to the problem? No, I don't. But I would definitely be open to considering opening up that fund a little bit more so that we can get ahead of the issue.
Perfect. Thank you. Elaine.
An advantage of being the last speaker is that all the good things have been said. So I agree with everything that's been said. And I'm sure the city will reevaluate what we're doing. And if it's not enough, then we'll obviously do more or do it harder or whatever. But I think maybe education is the one thing that hasn't been mentioned, and that's important for people who have pets, just to be really responsible about their pets, because whereas a feral cat can have 20 kittens, a whole lot of other kittens too are simply abandoned kittens that were purchased or brought into a home at the wrong time and then just let out. So definitely we all have to do more, the public and the city, to tackle this problem.
Perfect. Thank you. All right. The next questions come from Ryan Petrinka. In the winter time, I've noticed the sidewalks are the last to get plowed. This forces pedestrians to walk on the road. Geez, I can't read today. Making it dangerous for pedestrians and motorists. My question is, what can be done to make the city more pedestrian friendly in the winter? We'll start with Ryan.
Well, I mean, I don't disagree. It's obviously it's terrible to walk on the sidewalks in the winter, and then obviously people are forced to walk on the road because it's much easier. And I mean, winter or not, a lot of people that's their only means of transport. So I mean, they have to walk. I mean, the answer isn't simple because a lot of the side streets and tertiary streets don't get cleaned for 24, 48, 72 hours after a heavy snowfall. So, I mean, other than increasing our budget for snow removal and putting more, sidewalk machines on the road, there's no other answer than that I can think of.
Okay, thank you, Maurice.
Yeah, so I agree. I mean, I think that our public works, roads department does a really good job, and unfortunately, that's one of the most phone calls you'll receive as a councillor is that the sidewalk's not cleaned or my road's not cleaned. And when I first got elected, I couldn't understand, but it's done in phases, and that there's primary roads that get done first and sidewalks, and then secondary, and so on and so forth. So somebody living in that cul-de-sac where I live right now is going to get done probably the last out of all the roads. So it's hard, but Ryan's correct. I mean, unless we were to up that budget to put more vehicles on, I think that our city crews do a fairly good job when it comes to snow removal. And I find that even more so in the last little while, like last winter, our downtown cores and all that, where your meters were cleaned out right away for businesses for their customers to have access. And that has, instead of people jumping over snowbanks to put money in the meters, that was done instantly right after the storm starts. But there's many municipal parking lots and things that need to get done. So the only way that I could see us in doing it quicker than we already do is to have a bigger budget.
Thank you. Stephen?
Yeah, so personally speaking, my last house was on Forestdale Crescent, and after getting stuck twice with my little Hyundai Elantra on my own street, I had to buy an SUV. So 100% see the struggles. I'm a little more lenient when it comes to the streets and less lenient when it comes to the sidewalks, in my opinion. I can understand, obviously, Montreal Road, 2nd Street, Brookdale Avenue, getting first attention over Forestdale. You shouldn't be driving 100 miles an hour down a little cul-de-sac anyway. But the sidewalks, we are an aging community. And to force these folks off of the sidewalks and into the streets, how nobody has died as a result of this already is a miracle. We need to reprioritize the conditioning of our sidewalks and salt them properly. I myself thought I broke my hip on my own sidewalk walking the dog last spring because, sure, the snowplow guy went by 2 days later, but that had a nice level of ice from packed snow. I'm 40 and I was able to get back up eventually. My 66-year-old mother probably wouldn't have been able to do so. My 90-year-old neighbor, that would have been a death sentence for her. I understand the priority given to these streets. We need somehow to reevaluate the lack of priority the sidewalks are given. Folks in wheelchairs, walkers. I mean, it's a shame. And we've been lucky this far that no one has been more seriously injured or killed as a result of those.
Thank you. All right, Sarah.
Yeah, I absolutely agree in terms of prioritizing sidewalks and pedestrian pathways. I mean, it's an accessibility issue, and aging population is one aspect to it, but anyone with limited mobility, and we have a lot of people in Cornwall who don't drive, believe it or not, who rely on getting around on foot, especially in the winter. And it's a safety concern when we're forcing people onto the roads. So if we're going to kind of walk the walk and not just talk the talk about, moving forward with active transportation, and we're going to do that all year long, we really do need to make sure that our sidewalks are safe. And of course, like there's budgetary constraints on everything, and we might have to reevaluate them. Maybe we do need more of the machines that are intended to clean the sidewalks, and salting that's being prioritized as well. But we don't want to make it so that our sidewalks are hazardous and that we are putting our people in unsafe situations.
Perfect. Thank you. Elaine.
Well, this is a budgetary question. No question about that. So we can simply increase our budget. But I hope, somebody, I forget it was Maurice or Ryan, mentioned the fact that it's been better in the last couple of years. One of the good things COVID did for the world was have people out walking more and walking on streets. And the city actually increased its complement of sidewalk snow removal machines. And I know in my area, it made a big difference. And in fact, the city started actually clearing some of the bike paths, which was major because usually in the winter that's not done. But this gives me an opportunity to rant about my pet peeve. I walk the bike path and I walk the sidewalks. It drives me crazy when somebody clears their own personal driveway and blows the snow onto the sidewalk that's just been cleared and forces somebody at that point just to make this 5 foot, you have to detour. So you go on the road to detour that. That's so thoughtful. So one thing I'm going to drive for, of course, we keep the budget high for removal, but also that we could simply record an address. Believe me, in my neighborhood, I know the addresses by heart that dump their driveway snow onto the sidewalk that people are trying to walk on. And that just defeats everybody. Mm-hmm. So I'm going to push for a bylaw that people should get a knock on the door if they do that. And maybe the second or third time they get a ticket.
There you go. Okay, so the next question is, okay, should councillors have a minimum council meeting attendance of at least 80%? With bigger projects getting worked on, I would think that more meetings should happen. So I'm totally foreign to that. I don't know if there's something in place already that says that you have to attend a certain amount of meetings, or we'll start with Ryan.
Yeah, look, I agree 100% that you should be attending most of the meetings. Look, it's all public record. We have some counselors with poor attendance records. That's out there. I'm not going to comment on that, but yeah, I mean, barring any major event, I mean, I'd be at every meeting. And yeah, if there has to be more meetings because there's a lot of stuff ongoing, yeah, that's fine. And it should be real. Yeah.
Okay. Maurice?
I know that there's a bylaw that you can't miss 3 consecutive council meetings. If you're absent for 3 consecutive council meetings, then there's a process that the clerk's department has to take. We meet twice a month and then once a month for PAC. We have 2 regular council meetings plus the in-camera meetings, and then you have the committees that you're assigned to. So there is a lot of meetings, but we certainly are not shy to call a special council meeting when a special council meeting needs to be called if we're working on a bigger project. But yeah, I mean, I know that I don't have the whole process in front of me, but I know that after 3 consecutive council meetings, there's a process that goes through the clerk's department. But yes, people should be attending as much as they possibly can.
Okay, thank you. Stephen?
Wow, I didn't really know that was a problem. To be 80%, my quick math tells me if I only attended 4 out of every 5 days at my job, I probably wouldn't have to worry about it too long. To not have our elected officials at least to that standard is laughable. We have been entrusted, and those who get elected, have anywhere between 4,000 and 7,000 votes. 4,000 or 7,000 people chose to take the time out of their lives to go to the Benson Center or the mall and cast a ballot for them, and then to give such little respect that I don't care about you 4,000 to 7,000 people who voted for me to go downtown 3 times a month and make my voice be known. I think it's a complete lack of respect. I personally, again, don't know if that is a real problem. I don't know of any names that are doing this, but we need to be held to a much higher standard than the folks working fast food who would lose their job if they went every 4 out of every 5 shifts. Medical exemptions aside, we need to be at every meeting, period.
Thank you. Sarah.
Yeah, I definitely agree with maybe there needs to be a reconsideration of what that bylaw is. And if it's, you can't miss 3 meetings in a row, otherwise, you get some kind of reprimand. Maybe we do need to look at a minimum percentage. And like Stephen said, except under exceptional circumstances. I mean, there are health issues, there are we are humans too. And I think it's okay sometimes to be sick. You're allowed. But if it's becoming a pattern and you're seeing that your counselors are not engaged, they're not doing the work, that's really what we're hired for, is to do the job. So I am absolutely on board with having minimums, especially if we're seeing it becoming an issue.
Perfect. Thank you. Elaine.
And I agree with everything that's been said. There's no question the importance of attending the meetings. I don't think it's a problem. And people have to bear in mind if they are aware of a problem, that sometimes, I mean, being a counselor is not a full-time job. And you talk about wanting young blood around the table. Well, young blood usually has a day job. And if the day job demands interfere with them attending a council meeting, that could be a reason why people do miss, if they miss. But my experience has been that council table is usually full for every meeting.
Perfect. Thank you so much. Okay, next question is about development. What should be the next priority for development in your opinion? Seniors apartments, homelessness reduction, low-income rentals, for example. So I'll start with Ryan.
I mean, they're all priorities, right? Because those are all real priorities because they're all touching on people that are most, essentially vulnerable people. Homelessness has been a real touching point. I mean, we definitely got to build a homeless shelter, come with some kind of solution. If it's not building a homeless shelter, working with other community groups that are already something, because it's a real issue. And obviously social housing is real. We got so many people on the waiting list. We got to somehow prioritize that. Unfortunately, we're gonna have to throw some money at it and lobby other levels of government to fix that. And then seniors, I mean, clearly we're a very senior heavy city. So yes, they're all priorities, 1, 2, and 3.
Thank you. Maurice.
Yes, thank you for the question. And I agree, they are all major priorities. I mean, I think having affordable and accessible programs for our seniors is just a must. And affordable housing, social housing, again, we have a wait list that's long, and we need more units, and we need more partnerships with the other levels of government that can get us shovel ready and have us, be able to get funding to do some more social housing units. As chair of the Agape Center Food Bank and Soup Kitchen, we see homelessness before us like no other. It has become more and more that people are homeless and people are struggling. Your husband and wife that are working a minimum wage job with family, and with the price of food and gas and a place to live, are not making the next month without coming to our food bank and having to get an order. Reluctantly, they don't want to, but they have to, and it's a reality. And they've made some changes at Agape Center where this winter, because there are so many people out on the street, this winter the kitchen will be open during the day, all day, so that people can come in, have coffee, a muffin or a cookie, warm up. The homelessness has been so present that they were able to get a grant to have a refrigerator outside, so that refrigerator is stocked before the staff leave at the end of the day, and then people can access that through the evening and overnight. But it is a problem. It's a great question, and I think it's 3 priorities that need to really be focused on moving forward.
Thank you. Stephen.
It's a bit of a cop-out answer, but to me, it's all a priority, and they're not mutually exclusive, and they don't have to happen one by one. Low-income housing. I mean, first of all, we need to stop fighting with developers who are actually trying to build them, standing in the way to the point that we have to go to court. to be forced to do the right thing as it's shaping up to be with this one private developer. We need to encourage these places to be built. Nobody, whether it's a senior, a young man or woman running from an abusive situation, or just someone down on their luck, the last thing we should be forcing them to do as a city is make them wait years for help. When you have reached a certain age and you've paid 40 or 50 years into this city, and to be told, well, we'll get a bed for you in about a year, 6 months, or as a single person losing their job, fall on hard time, one bedroom unit, 6 or 7 years, I think was the last time I'd heard for the wait time. Inexcusable. And yes, I do see the homeless issue in general. I live a block away from the Loose Caboose chip stand, and every Wednesday, I believe, there's a charitable van that shows up there, and it gives food and clothes and just an ear for someone to use. And the lineup of people in the last year that I've lived in this community, I easily say has doubled, and I don't see it getting smaller in the future. So priority is helping people. We're not doing enough of that, whether it's seniors or homeless or the less fortunate. We need to help them all.
Thank you. Sarah.
Yeah, it's a huge problem, and we can't get in front of it fast enough. We need so many, I think, not just new units, but we need more affordable housing. We need it on all the levels that were mentioned. We've all heard about, of course, the Cumberland Gardens situation, where like an entire, I think it was more than 200 units. I can't remember the exact number. Getting evicted all at once. And when you look at those kind of numbers, like that just ripples through our community in a way that we can't accept. So I know that that's, a landlord tenant board issue. I understand that, but as a city, I think we have a responsibility in being vocal that, yeah, we want investment in our community, but not at the cost of I'm so sorry, not at the cost of basically kicking, all of these families out of their homes and leaving them with nowhere to stay. So we know that the cost of housing has risen terribly over the course of the pandemic. Like, we were predicting that this would happen eventually in Cornwall. For a long time, we're like, oh my gosh, housing is so cheap here, and then now it's not. It just isn't. We bought our house last year, and it was like way, way, way more, probably triple what we would have paid 3, 4, 5 years ago, easily. And I don't know what we need to do. Obviously, we need to partner with higher levels of government to construct new buildings, but I think we also need to have some kind of retention plan in place, because for a long time, there are people who have been living in apartments where they're renting it at well below market rates, and landlords are getting rid of their homes. They're selling them off because they're making such a profit off of it. So I don't know what we can do as a municipality to encourage those landlords who are providing below market rate housing, which is essentially low income, to just at least keep that while we work on increasing the stock of social housing that we have. And yeah, supporting places like the Agape and Center 105 that are supporting our most vulnerable, who need not just shelter, but food and other services as well. So as a city, I think we need to be doing everything we can to support existing organizations and to be building as much as we can.
Thank you. And finally, Elaine.
Thank you. Yeah, I just I want to hate to repeat, but I will repeat this. As Stephen said, it's not one of those things. We have to work on all of them. And then, as Maurice said, mentioning the Agape Center, hats off to the many charitable organizations who do so much for our city. Now, as far as what the city can do as much as the taxpayers will allow, which means we have to put pressure on upper levels of government to come to us with the big dollars that we can invest in housing. And then, of course, the taxpayer picks up the eventual subsidy that goes on beyond that. But when you hear of two people working and accessing a food bank, I want to hear more about a living wage. I want to hear more about pressure on employers. If you have people working for you and they can't buy groceries with work they're doing, then maybe the wage has to be looked at. So frankly, that's one aspect of this problem that hasn't been referenced. And I think it's one of the many solutions we have to keep in mind. We have to make sure the whole system is fair. And people say, well, I can't afford to pay people more, I'll go out of business. Well, if you can't afford to pay your people to do the work for you that needs to be done, then maybe you weren't ready to go into business. Maybe it isn't a profitable business. Go into a different one. Somehow build some fairness into your system so that you're not exploiting the people who are working for you. Because if two people in a family are working and have to access a food bank, the problem isn't them. The problem isn't the city. There's another aspect to the problem. And I think we all have to be vocal about the struggle to ensure that our city is one that not just has lower rent housing, as people like to say. Let's say we also are a city that pays a fair wage. Thank you.
Thank you. I'm going to ask one last quick question. So since we're on the topic of housing, what would you think is more important, using the infrastructure and the buildings that we have right now and converting them to low income, or building more? Ryan.
Obviously, if there's any buildings that are available and we can convert to social housing, it makes more sense. I mean, as long as it's financially viable, because most of these renovations should come under slightly under budget and brand new reno, and the timeline should be a lot quicker. I mean, that being said, it's not always that simplistic. It depends on the building, right? We ran that scenario when, bought the building at the Arts Center. Things become more complicated as you start renovating older buildings, but we should definitely look at it if it's an option, for sure.
Thank you. Maurice.
I think using our available inventory that we have is the way to go. As Ryan said, as long as it's financially feasible. But I would think that, we need to gather the list of what buildings that we do have available to us, and then be able to, as I said earlier, put partnerships with the other levels of government and find out which prioritize the buildings we have, and what, have the study done as to what how many units they could house and so on and so forth. But we definitely, I would be in favor of using the existing buildings if it's, the costs were in line versus new.
Thank you. Stephen.
As Ryan, I'm sure, can attest, in his electrical field, myself in HVAC, it's really dependent upon the property, whether or not it's more financially responsible to do something with what's there versus new. There's plenty of homes I could put in the state-of-the-art HVAC system without breaking a sweat, and there's other homes, good luck. It's never going to work. We need to do a cost-benefit analysis and let the numbers speak for themselves. If it makes sense to use 123 Main Street for low-income housing, do it. If it makes more sense to find a field somewhere and break ground from new, do it. My gut tells me, though, it's probably a hybrid of both. I don't think there's enough buildings that exist currently in this town to support what we need this town to be. So we can't limit ourselves to A or B. It's got to be both.
Thank you. And Sarah?
You're on mute.
She's muted herself.
But she's saying good stuff.
Sorry,
There we go.
I have the lingering symptoms of COVID, so that you're not hearing me cough throughout this whole interview.
Yeah, you had a blank before, and I experienced those so many times. I refer them to COVID moments.
Yeah, I know. Oh my gosh, it's a different kind of thing. But in any case, I'm okay. I think it is on a case by case basis. Like both, Ryan and Stephen and Maurice were saying, you don't know a building until you get into it and you look at it. And I think, there are professionals that can go through and give at a pretty, without opening up walls, say this looks like it's got some good structure and good bones, and this could be converted, with minimal work. By all means, if the structure's there and we can go ahead and do it, I think we do have places like that. I know some of our old schools. One of the things that I want to make sure is when we're constructing some of these new residences, new low income, that we're looking at multi-use also, that we're not isolating them from services. And, I think that's something that we're like, we need more housing, but we also need to ensure that there are, places for them to get food and other goods that are within a reasonable proximity. So I want to include that in the visioning of it, is if we're going to be retrofitting buildings and making them into low income housing, that we look at maybe, putting even just a small grocery store or something like that, having it so that it's zoned appropriately to do that. And I know zoning was something that's come up quite a bit. So maybe that's something that needs to be reviewed in order to facilitate the conversion into some of these multi-unit and multi-use buildings.
Thank you. And Elaine.
Thank you. Obviously, retrofit is the way to go, if it's feasible to retrofit the building, of course. I think it's kind of lamentable that people maybe watch council meetings and don't go to PAC meetings, which they're able to, because at the PAC meeting, issues like this and specific building properties get discussed. And that's where you see the cost benefit analysis actually played out in real time. And when it comes to the council meeting, all these items, for example, the grants we've approved and the permits we've given, they're given through the consent items, which aren't read out. So people aren't aware of the good work that is being done on this issue already. And certainly it's wonderful to see some of these old schools like St. Gabriel's. Apparently they're working on it right now. Sacred Heart is undergoing renovations. It's been a subject of PAC meetings for a couple of months now. So all great ideas, and the work is going on for sure. The kind of intensification that you get with renovating a building, it just pours more people into those neighborhoods who are able to support the businesses in those neighborhoods rather than letting them eat up green space on the outskirts of the city. So for sure, renovations, if the building is at all salvageable.
Thank you so much. All right, guys. Well, time flies when you're having fun. I have a turkey to go and start. So I want to thank you for being with us today and to let us get to know you a little better. And good luck in the next elections. I don't know if I'm allowed to say good luck or if it's break a leg in politics, but whatever. Have a great Thanksgiving, and thank you for coming.
Thank
you.
you.
Thanks for this opportunity. Great.
Bye.
And good luck, everybody.
All right. I'm going to remove. Okay. So it's 11:03.
Yeah, that went on for quite a while. I did have one question, because I really want to know why each individual thinks they should be good for the job and why we should vote for them, but we didn't have time to ask that one.
No,
so.
there's not enough time. An hour is too short. It flies
It
by. And
is.
I prioritize the questions from the audience.
Well, that's the important ones.
Yeah.
It was nice, and it was nice to see so many people taking part.
Absolutely.
Good.
Absolutely. All right.
So I just want to say that we are having some more council candidates on the show next week on the 17th, right?
We do, and we might have another one that might take place that night, because some of the candidates could not be there on a Monday morning. So to accommodate, I'm trying to set up maybe an evening, maybe Monday evening, one with the remainder of the people, and then if not, well, it is what it is. And then on Tuesday, is it Tuesday the 18th?
Yeah, Tuesday the 18th, we've got the mayoral debate in the evening from 7 to 9.
I don't want to call it a debate. It's not really,
Well,
like, our
ours is
chats
more
are
a
so
chat.
informal. Yeah, it's
a chat.
much more informal, and I might just ask them, what kind of ice cream do you like? And it might be very light. But anyways, so that's it. There's no time, unfortunately, to tell you about the events. There is the Labor Council. Is it the Labor Council?
It is the Labor Council event on Wednesday, this
Gekropen mal.
Wednesday.
Labor
Wow.
Council debate is happening on the 12th, which is
Wednesday.
and we will be live streaming that one. So you can watch it on our social media channels, whether it's YouTube or Facebook or even Twitter. We're all over the place. So watch for that one on Wednesday. All right, that's all for us. Have a great day, guys.
And have a super duper week.
See you next week.
Bye.